Boys, I want to do a poem I wrote called The Visalia. A friend of mine who raises horses asked if I would stay in the hall to break some yearlings in the fall. We'd finished eating supper. I was leaned back in a chair, and as I watched the fire cast shadows on the wall, I heard his footsteps on the porch before I heard him knock, and my friend yelled out, "Oh, partner, come on in." He had seen him coming up the drive and recognized the truck and knew the lanky cowboy was a friend. His weathered features, gnarled hands, and bent bow-legged walk all told of life out on the open plain. His dress was plain and simple, but he held his head up high, and with hat in hand he told us why he came. He said he needed horses that could handle rocky ground. They had to have good feet and big and stout. Where he was headed, cattle were untouched by human hands. They was paying by the head to clean them out. He said he had no money, just a promise that he'd pay, a chance he wouldn't turn a dime till spring, and he didn't want to borrow mounts. He'd probably wear them out. Said when he's through, they won't be worth a thing. My friend said, go out to the barn and talk to Esquivel. He's got them up this evening in the pen, and there'll be a bunch of good ones. Take as many as you need, and I'll see you when you get your cattle in. He went out to the pickup for a moment and returned with an old Visalia saddle in his hand. He set it on a barrel. As he turned to walk away, he said, I'll be back to get this when I can. Old pard, I said, that ain't much loot for what them horses cost. I think you got the wrong end of this deal. That old saddle ain't worth nothing. He turned to me and said, to tell the truth, my friend, I got a steal. I ain't worried about my horses. You just saw an honest man. His granddad rode that saddle up the trail. He intends to keep his promise. This is just for me to hold. And he knows I know that saddle ain't for sale. And if it takes him 20 years, he'll get that saddle back. He'll whittle at the debt until it's done. An honest man will break his back, protecting his good name, and a thief will fade away into the night. You see the way he held himself with head and shoulders high? No doubt he carries his share of the load. He values that old saddle about as much as life itself, and I am proud to help him down the road. See, my granddad came to Texas just before the Civil War, when cash was scarce and land was wild and free, and he was known to always help a man who tried to help himself, and I hope that some of that rubbed off on me. The lesson that I learned that night is still with me today. Don't be afraid to stand out from the herd. You'll be repaid 10,000 times with pride and self-respect while other folks place value on your word. I didn't stay that winter. Wasn't much for me to do. I worked the yearlings and went on my way, and after several years I heard my friend has gone to his reward, so I came down for the service yesterday. I walked into his cabin to relive some happy times. I looked for that old saddle everywhere. In the corner was the barrel where he laid it years ago. It was empty. That old saddle wasn't there. And inside the church we whispered and remembered our old friend. The preacher helped us all to recollect, and over in the corner sat a solitary man with hat in hand. He paid his last respects. I never got to ask him if he got his saddle back, but I'll bet my Justin boots he made the trade. And when he goes to roping that big roundup in the sky, the Lord will say, your entry fees are paid.